y caballeros, ahora vamos a ver el último speaker antes del almuerzo. Este señor Javier Pastor Moreno, el director de Comunicación y Formación Institucional en Bit2Me, un puente clave para bancos e instituciones hacia Bitcoin, uno de los defensores de Bitcoin más activos y destacados de España, apoyando la misión de MadBitcoin desde el primer día. Y les va a presentar, ya no es solo retail, Bitcoin como activo estratégico, tesorerías corporativas, adopción institucional y lecciones para todos. Por favor, recíbanlo con un fuerte aplauso.
Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Cuando me preparé esta charla, pensé en sin hacerla en inglés o en español. I'm going to switch into English, so this presentation is going to be in that language. I appreciate your patience. So, my name is Javier Pastor. I'm the head of OTC at Bit2Me. And Bit2Me is a European exchange platform that has been operating for 12 years now, since 2014. Now we work under the regulation of MiCA, Marketing Crypto Assets, with the license. And we've been developing products, developing services to fulfill, well, the expectations of the customers, right? So we have in our structure partners backed as Tether, Unicaja, Bank Inter, or Telefónica. So, let me see. Okay. So, before every presentation I always look for interesting stories about the building or the place where things are happening. And in this case, we are celebrating this meeting in Palacio de Bellas Artes. So if you see on top, when you get out, you will see that there is a statue called Minerva. Minerva is the goddess, a Roman goddess, for wisdom and for strategic thinking. And I think that really fits with the idea that we are working here, that we are defending, that is Bitcoin. In this slide, I wanted to represent the way we see Bitcoin and the current market with this lighthouse. So we want clarity, we want transparency, and we want to reach all our customers. So the idea is that all these years we've been defending, we've been working with retail customers. We grow with B2C, but now we are moving into the next phase. So we are projecting Bitcoin to integrate solutions for banks, for institutions, and for treasury management companies. So, currently, Bit2Me is not only working here in Europe. Of course, this is our natural market, and with the MiCA passport, we want to focus, bringing new players, new customers that custody and use our services, but also we are working already, we are running in Argentina. Argentina, it's a connection, a natural connection with Spain. We think that LATAM has a huge projection, a huge development in front of us, and we want to be the bridge. We want to be the connection. So, what is the thing? So, the message from this slide is very simple. Corporate cash is melting. Inflation doesn't just affect consumers, doesn't just affect families. It affects also balance sheets. And companies are experiencing this through rising costs, currency debasement, or shrinking margins. And the gradual erosion of purchasing power, and this creates a challenge for treasury departments. So because of the role of a CFO is not a speculation, it is protect liquidity, preserve capital, and improve capital efficiency. Traditionally, companies rely on bank deposits, money market products, or sovereign debt. But in the monetary environment, changed completely. You know, the situation, well, Juan Ramón Rayo explained it very well, the current geopolitical status is changing all the landscape. And this is where Bitcoin starts becoming important, not just as a trading asset, but as a strategic reserve asset. Because Bitcoin introduces something unique, scarce, global, transparent, and liquid asset. At the same time, I will add that stablecoins are becoming the operational layer, faster settlements, global transfers, programmable liquidity, and lower friction. So what we are really seeing here is the emergence of a new corporate financial toolkit. Bitcoin becomes the reserve layer, stablecoins becomes the settlement layer. And companies begin combining both inside treasury management strategies. So, what has really changed over the last few years, not only Bitcoin itself, most revolutions do not begin with consumers. They begin when infrastructure becomes reliable enough for institutions. And I understand all the panels and all the philosophy that we defend here, that is to hold our own keys and to preserve our sovereignty. I agree with that. But the reality is that when infrastructure becomes reliable enough for institutions, that's when the change can happen. And for a long time, corporations could not interact with digital assets in a serious way. There were not regulatory clarity, no custody standards, and this is fundamental, and no operational certainty. And today that's changing rapidly because now in Europe we have MiCA, and it's probably one of the most important developments of the European digital asset industry. Because for the first time, Europe now has a unified regulatory framework for digital assets. And that changed everything for corporations. Because companies move based on governance, security, compliance, and risk management. So, companies can access also stablecoins. I think this is a topic that we need to face and to bring on the table, even though the ecosystem or everyone is defending the idea of Bitcoin, we need to bring also the idea of operating with stablecoins. And this is where Bit2Me, it's very important. The role of Bit2Me is very important because our vision is not just build a new exchange. Our vision is to build infrastructure for Europe. Infrastructure that allows companies to buy and custody Bitcoin, move stablecoins globally, access liquidity, integrate APIs, and build treasury strategies around digital assets. And this transition is already happening. Bit2Me is currently the custodian of Vanadi Treasury. They are here as well. And Vanadi Treasury is the first public company in Spain that is integrating Bitcoin in their treasury balance. Currently, they hold more than 210 Bitcoin with us. And we make this service, we make this necessary process of custody so companies can operate and feel comfortable working with this asset. So I think this is a very important signal for the market because Bitcoin treasury adoption is not longer only happening in the United States. It's also happening here in Spain, in Europe. We see other companies that are in this event. So once companies integrate Bitcoin into their balance sheets, what happens is that new financial possibilities appear. Collateralized lending, stablecoin settlement, and more efficient treasury management. Bitcoin is evolving from personal savings technology, and I support that. I still support that everyone has to be sovereign with their own property, with their own Bitcoin, their own keys. But also we need to understand and we need to start sending the message that companies are a key part of this revolution. So what we have here, this is where Bitcoin, I think it's evolving to a reserve, from a reserve asset into a financial tool. From a reserve asset to a financial tool within the company. So, for example, in Bit2Me, we have Bit2Me Loan, so companies can use Bitcoin as collateral to unlock liquidity without not selling their Bitcoin, their position. So the process is very simple. The company deposits Bitcoin with us, and based on that collateral, it can access liquidity in stable coins, in USD or USDC. So at Bit2Me, we currently operate with LTV ratio up to 50%. So if a company deposits 100,000 euros worth of Bitcoin, it can access up to 50,000 USD, for example, in liquidity while maintaining the exposure to the asset. So they don't have to sell the asset. They can leverage the asset. That's the idea. So companies no longer need to liquidate this strategic reserve in short-term operational needs. Instead, Bitcoin becomes productive collateral. And of course, we have to take in consideration the risk management of fundamental. If Bitcoin drops significantly, the LTV increases, an additional collateral or partial need to be added. So, but everything operates inside transparent and regulated framework. And the use cases are broad. Working capital, supplier payments, payrolls, tax obligations, international settlements, or expansion of financing. This is why we believe Bitcoin collateralization could become one of the most important treasury tools of the next decade. Well, so if Bitcoin represents the reserve layer, stablecoins are going to help and are going to represent the settlement layer. And this is extremely important for companies because global payments today are still slow, fragmented, and expensive. And stablecoins are not trying to replace money. Stablecoins are trying to improve how money moves. So companies can move digital dollars and digital euros globally now, 24/7, with lower friction and near-instant settlements. And this is where Bitcoin and stablecoins complement each other perfectly. So Bitcoin preserves value, and stablecoins move value efficiently. And at Bit2Me, we already see companies using stablecoins for supplier payments, cross-border settlements, treasury management, and international operations between Europe and Latin America. And regulation matters a lot here because MiCA introduces as well for stablecoins transparency, reserve requirements, and institutional protections around compliant stablecoins like, USDC or USC. And once companies trust infrastructure, adoption can move forward, can accelerate. So because treasury management starts becoming global, starts becoming programmable, and is going to finally stay connected. So I talk about Bitcoin as a reserve layer. I talk about stablecoins as a settlement way of payments. But also in Bit2Me, what we are doing now is integration with third parties. So we think that infrastructure is becoming the key layer for each industry. And through Bit2Me API, banks, fintechs, payment companies, and enterprises can connect directly into regulated digital assets infrastructure. Not everyone wants to build a custody, and it's not possible. Everyone can build their own custody. Wallets, settlement from scratch. So most institutions simply want reliable infrastructure they can integrate securely. Nobody builds their own internet today, but everyone uses it. And in the future, most companies probably will not build their own digital asset infrastructure either. And that is exactly what we are building. Today, companies can access through Bit2Me, custody, liquidity, stablecoins, payments, wallet infrastructure, and treasury capabilities. And this is already happening. We are working with institutions such as Theka Bank, projects connected to BBA Guarantee in Turkey, and this reflects something much bigger, a bigger transition. Traditional finance is beginning to integrate digital asset infrastructure, and Europe has a unique opportunity here. And I come back again to MiCA. I think MiCA marks the tipping point, the moment we were before, 2025, and now, in terms of integration with institutions, with third parties. I would like to finish with one final idea, and I think it's that the opportunity for all of us that we've discovered about Bitcoin a couple of years ago, it's rising now, it's presenting in front of us. And it's what we are witnessing is not just simply the growth of this industry. What we are witnessing is the construction of a new financial infrastructure. And Europe has a unique opportunity in this situation. For the first time, we now have regulatory clarity, institutional infrastructure, stablecoin frameworks, and growing corporate adoption. So in Bit2Me, we have 2,500 companies working with us already and working with the ecosystem. And we are seeing companies like Banadi integrated Bitcoin in their treasury balance. So I think this is going to expand. This is going to be integrated as well in banks, in fintechs. Very soon, it's happening already. We are working already in that space. And this is only the beginning. So in Bit2Me, our vision is clear. It's not simply to be an exchange, but build regulated financial infrastructure for Europe and for LATAM to become a bridge between both markets, both regions. So thank you very much to MadBitcoin, Aldona, Cristina, for organizing this fantastic event. Thank you very much for your attention. This is my first presentation in English, so I apologize for that. And anyone that is interested to go deeper, we have a workshop at 5:30 with our colleagues here. We have the stand where we will go deeply in the topics, Bit2Me loan and the other products. So just as a sentence to finish, every major financial transition initially feels small until suddenly it feels inevitable. So maybe Minerva, that's the Roman goddess that is on top of this building, and I start the history, was watching the right event today after all. Thank you very much.